Welcome to the Sailor Noob podcast, where a superfan and a noob talk about the original Sailor Moon episode by episode. I'm your host, Mikan Hana, joined by my co-host.
I'm the co-host, Caliban. I'm also the noob, and we're approaching the final chapter.
And we're a couple of magical people ready to moon crystal power make up this episode. Today we are talking about episode number 84, Wiseman no Mashu, Chibi-Usa Shometsu in Japanese. Wiseman's Evil Hand, Chibi-Usa Disappears, the English translation, and the English title, Jealousy's Just Reward.
Soon. You know the meme, soon.
I don't know the meme, soon.
Soon.
What is the meme, soon?
It's just somebody, S-O-O-N, it's a word.
Yeah.
And it's just somebody looking at something. Usually they're like partially hidden by something.
Yeah.
Or behind them. And
that's
they're like,
accurate.
Soon.
Yeah, that's Wiseman.
It got real popular with Game of Thrones, where I think there was like some kind of mixer, you know, for the cast and stuff. And so George R.R. Martin was behind something, and he was looking at Sophie Turner, and it was like, soon.
Oh, like she's gonna die soon or something.
Is it
like
Sophie
that.
Turner?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought I was thinking of Sophie Tucker.
No, it's
who's
Sophie
a singer
Turner
from the 50s.
Yeah,
But,
you got it right.
Okay, Sophie Turner.
Yes.
Who? Boy, she's everywhere now, huh? Oh, I just can't get rid of her.
Not really.
I know. What happened to her?
Terrible X-Men movies.
That wasn't her fault.
That didn't help.
Thanks for bringing up the X-Men, because I'm going to mention them later.
Oh.
And that's a sneak peek.
Sneak peek to the comics that we'll be mentioning in this episode.
Well, I don't think anybody's surprised that I'm going to talk about comics, but
Yes.
maybe I will a little later. Right now, I want to talk about our Patreon, which you can join by going to patreon.com/Sailor Noob. It's all one word.
It
We
is.
don't hold truck with those underscores. It's we're overscoring. No, don't overscore. There's no score.
No score.
It's just Sailor Noob.
Yes.
And on it, we present to you extra material from the show. We present outtakes from this show. The stuff. There's things that I don't hear. This thing is 3 hours long. Yeah, sometimes there's stuff you don't hear. Things that go off topic, extra bits, sometimes flubs. Also, we've got an entirely new podcast. Actually, we've got two entirely new podcasts.
We do.
One is called PGS Ends, where we watch the live-action Aughts or Naughties series, Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon, give our thoughts on it. And also we have another feature, another side show called Animetification, where we watch a randomly selected first episode of some other anime. Totally random. Is it going to be a demon-related thing? Probably. That's like 50% of anime. Will there be ninjas? Okay, so I've caught the two halves of the circle here.
There's a lot.
Will there be
those
boobs
things.
in it? Possibly.
Yeah, probably.
There could be boobs.
Yeah. Is somebody going to have blue hair? Probably.
I feel like there's got to be a kids anime, like aimed at, smaller children, very small children.
Sure.
Not like a Teletubbies level.
Doraemon.
Okay, is that on our list?
Yes.
I'd love to see some innocent anime.
I'm
open to that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we've
really
been on
sweet.
the other side of that divide.
Yeah.
Too much.
Definitely
But
been
anyway,
on the other side.
If you want to hear us talk about some risky anime, you can hear us do it on Animetification if you are an Inner member on our Patreon. And to do that, you go to patreon.com/Sailor Noob.
Most animes I feel like there's a lot of animes that take place during school too, like either like high schools or junior highs. So that's
They
also
took
a
that
big
note about kids like watching stuff about kids or whatever.
Right.
This is seinen, so all the characters are going to be 14.
Right.
And it's like, okay, I guess.
But now I feel like much older than that. And
I was reading The Lord of the Rings, actually both in shoujo and seinen parts of my life, and that's about like 60-year-old hobbits who are like dealing with hundreds-of-year-old wizards and thousands-of-year-old dragons.
Mm-hmm. I don't think the age thing necessarily always follows.
But kids love Anakin, though.
Do they? Do they really? I think kids like Darth Vader more than they like Anakin. I mean, I guess technically you could argue it's the same person. So
that's a noob mistake.
Yeah.
Who's the noob now?
Yeah.
Back when he was a Padawan learner.
Yes.
And wanted to be a master.
Oh God! And like, what is like pod racing? He was like super into pod racing.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
This kid.
There's probably a deleted scene for the special editions where Darth Vader's like, gets into a pod and he's like, "Oh, no, this is pod racing." No, I can't. I don't do that anymore.
Oh, no, I can't. Time to get in my X-Wing now and fly around.
Obi-Wan, you should try spinning. That's a good trick. Something like that.
Yes. Well, would you like to give a breakdown of today's episode?
I'm going to break down.
Maybe some spinning?
As I give it.
Yeah.
Maybe I should spin because that's a good trick. These episodes get both very little happens and yet a lot it can be said about them because they become a perfect combination of exposition and like complicated specific actions that have that characters are taking because of 20 plus episodes of history. And so to try to describe them, you need all the context for why the characters are doing what they're doing. This is my excuse for why the recap's going to be so long. And I'm going to try to do a good job letting everybody know where we are. Where we are is on planet Nemesis. Mm-hmm. And Esme, Demando, and Saphir are in the throne room. And Demando demands that Saphir turn the full force of the evil Black Crystal upon the Crystal Palace on Earth. So they're just going to blast it, I guess. That's their plan. Which would be tough to do. Unless dark power moves faster than light, you got to line it up perfectly.
That's true.
And then wait. Because it takes light about 5.5 hours to get from Earth to Pluto. So you have to be shooting where Earth will be.
Sure. Math is involved.
Anyway, actually, they got it figured out, I'm sure. Demando says, all right, come on, everybody. We're invading Earth again. Everybody back to one.
Yep.
But Saphir says, Nissan, the Queen has refused to kneel before you. You've forgotten our ultimate objective, the grudge of our ancestors who were driven from Earth here to Nemesis. We must avenge them by altering Earth's history. We gotta make them wear hats on their butts or something. They're not doing any like fun changes in the past. It's all just destroy everything.
Yeah, right.
And Demando, enraged, spins around and, speaking of Star Wars, gives him a force push into a pillar.
Yeah, good point.
Esme is shocked, but Demando says, if you've got time to lecture, hurry up and make the adjustments to the evil Black Crystal's reactor.
Yeah.
The crystal has a reactor? It's the first time we're hearing about this.
I think they're just making stuff up as they go.
I kind of think they are. Maybe Chernobyl and nuclear fiction has poisoned me, but I'm thinking that this Star War is going to end with an explosion.
Yeah.
Graphite
Possibly.
everywhere.
Yeah, right.
There was graphite everywhere. Demando immediately goes back to looking at the holographic image of Neo Queen Serenity and says, I'll make you mine no matter what. And Esme looks like she is passing a cinder block.
I mean,
she's not happy about this.
No, she is not. And I get it. But he has no qualms about doing this in front of everybody.
Yes. Or he's just like a real loud talking to himself
That could be too.
Yeah. Gotta get some milk from the store. You're doing it again. On the blasted Earth, we see the spire of the Crystal Palace, which our heroes have arrived at the top of, minus Usagi and Mamoru, and they are surveying the damage. Everybody is dead or fled, so it's totally empty at this palace. Artemis thinks that something must have happened to the silver crystal in this world, that things got so bad. And the girls are ready to rush off to help Sailor Moon, but King Endymion again appears in ghostly form. He touches a crystal knob on one of the control panels. Yeah. I'm getting a real like Superman's Fortress of Solitude vibe here.
Good
All the
point.
controls are crystals. Yeah.
Yes.
And an image of Sailor Moon and Tuxedo Mask appears on a view screen. Sailor Moon is, once again, transformed into Sailor Moon in her costume, so no answers from the questions from last week.
No.
And she's leaning on Tuxedo Mask for support. Also, this must be the feed from their Nest cam, because they literally like walk in 2 seconds later.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
Let me show you where they are. You mean right here, over there? Yeah. The girls embrace Usagi, and she's overcome with joyful tears, and Mars yells at her. Tuxedo Mask, everything is back to normal. Tuxedo Mask and the king exchange a look of significance, TM. And everyone goes into the royal bedchamber, where they see Neo Queen Serenity asleep, encased in crystal. Chibi tells her that she's brought the sailors from the past to help. Tuxedo Mask asks King how the queen ended up like this, and King says, well, we lost the Phantom Silver Crystal. I guess we just lost it or something. Right before the Dark Moon Clan attacked. And we cut to Chibi, and she looks really guilty.
She does.
Put a pin in that. Ray says, hey, if you need a silver crystal, Sailor Moon has one. And Usagi thinks, maybe I can wake the queen with my crystal. And everyone encourages her to try it. She cries, Moon crystal power! And pink light streams out of the crystal, bathing the queen. Nothing happens. And Chibi thinks, even Sailor Moon can't help my mom. And she runs off.
Yep.
Usagi tries to go after her, but Tuxedo Mask says, let her go. Let her go. She'll be safe inside the palace. But he doesn't write this show, does he?
No.
So I bet that's not true.
Right.
Chibi walks outside of the palace, there we go, onto a ruined future playground and sits sadly on a future swing.
Yeah.
Which looks like a regular swing.
It does.
Future playground technology sucks.
No improvements.
Evil laughter echoes throughout the playground, and Chibi asks, who's there? It's Creepy Wise Guy. He floats down and says, I foresee that the star of my fate is at its most ideal. Fortune Cookie says, you will capture the rabbit. Chibi tries to run, but she finds that she can't move. The sky turns green and red, and Wise Guy's eyes flash as he says, I can see the terror lurking in your heart, your memory of the phantom silver crystal. Chibi says, no, a flashback.
Yeah.
And we go into Chibi's mind, and it's just getting more information about something that happened in the past of the future.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
And we see people criticizing her, saying, Chibi, misbehaving again? Get that pickle out of your mouth. Stop misbehaving. Yeah. And you keep acting like that, you'll never be a big lady. Who are these Harridans?
I have no idea.
Just random women in the future?
Yeah.
We see a broken vase at her feet, and hey, we've all been there.
Right.
I think the worst thing I ever did, I broke one of those glass lamps, right?
Oh, really?
It's just got the thing, and it's a glass thing, but the cord's
exactly
inside.
This
is really popular in like the early 90s.
Yes.
Anyway, Chibi thinks, I want to hurry up and be a real lady like Mom. I know where this is going. We see Chibi entering the room where the silver crystal is kept, and she takes it thinking, if I hold it, I'll get to be like my wonderful mom. Everything seems nice for a second, but suddenly the crystal explodes with light. It disappears.
Yep.
Instantly, like immediately.
Yep.
Fire and lightning descend upon Crystal Tokyo, and we see the sailor soldiers protecting Neo Queen Serenity from attack by the evil Dark Crystal. And Crystal Tokyo is really getting hammered. It looks like Neo Tokyo in Akira, like there's craters everywhere.
Yes.
Similar to the, it looks like the PowerPoint that Esme made about what she wanted to do to regular Tokyo with the henges.
I love her PowerPoint.
Yeah, it's just like, devastation.
Yep.
This story, however, is apparently new info to Creepy Wise Guy.
Apparently.
As we cut back to him, watching Chibi's memories unfold. And he says, afraid of what you've done, you erase this from your memory. And Chibi says, it wasn't my fault. And Wise Guy says, let's see what they say. And images of Sailor Moon and the sailors appear, blaming her for what happened. Chibi says, it wasn't my fault. And Wise Guy says, sure, you must assert your innocence by force. Okay.
This is a new take.
Now take my hand. And as she does, we see the weird crystal tree, which I think we can now say that's the reactor for the evil black crystal.
I think so, yeah.
It begins to light up. Esme says, wow, that looks good. And Saphir says, yeah, if you like sitting on a bomb. There it is.
Yeah, right.
See?
Yeah.
3.6 Renkins. Not great. Not terrible.
Okay. All right.
He says, little paper hat on. He says, does anybody remember HBO's Chernobyl? I feel like that was huge, like 2 years ago.
It was.
He says, Nissan doesn't understand the danger and is following the questionable guidance of Wise Guy, which is not great.
No.
Speak of the devil, Demando appears as an image before them and says, what's up with that reactor? Is it ready? And Esme says, this seems like a waste of power. I mean, I can handle this. But Demando just disappears. And Saphir bemoans that Demando has fallen in love with Sailor Moon instead of just killing her already. This does not make Esme happy.
No.
She says, I don't care if Wise Guy's using us. I'm going to be the one to make his dreams come true. This is a house divided against itself. Everybody's on a different page here.
No, it's true.
It's long divisioned against itself. Back on future Earth, we see the ruined Crystal Tokyo, and we pan to a building on the outskirts of town made of dark crystal. Inside, Esme appears and demands to see Wise Guy. Instead, she hears sinister female laughter, and she says, There shouldn't be any more droids here.
Uh-huh.
May make me some ice cream. Where are you? No? Huh, see? Just then, Wise Guy himself appears, or an image of him, saying, "The dead say," can't wait for this,
Yeah.
"anger comes from within and gives you strength." Like, the Grateful Dead? They just say, "Watch your speed," don't they? To Casey Jones. He goes on to say, "A double-edged sword that clouds what you hear and think." He's getting a lot of mileage out of his fortune cookies.
Yeah,
you can get them in a
really
whole
is.
bag, you know.
Yeah, he's
Eat
just
'em
cracking them open.
all day long.
Maybe he's not even eating them. He's just opening them and reading them.
It's just a pile of broken fortune cookies behind him.
Yeah, exactly.
Esme says, "Yeah, all right, whatever. I'm taking charge of the attack on the Crystal Palace. I'm going to need a lot of power. You can give me that, right?" And Wise Guy says, "As long as it's an order from the prince." And Esme says, "Yes, it is. Don't check up on that. It is." And he says, "I see a vision of a queen reigning over the future. Queen Esmeraude. It'll be close, but with the power of the evil black crystal, you'll be more powerful than Serenity." And Esme likes the sound of that.
Yeah.
From his crystal ball, Wise Guy creates a crystal crown and gives it to her. And Esme says, "You know, I usually wouldn't be persuaded so easily, but since it's for Demando's heart, okay." And she takes hold of the crown. When she does, she is transformed into dark Viking Queen Esmeraude.
Yeah.
New dress and fingerless gloves and huge shoulder spikes.
Yes.
She says, "I am indeed the queen of the future." Like the future in a couple of minutes? Or like in a couple of or like in the future of this future? Because the future is right now.
It's present.
You live in the future, but it's your present.
Yes.
Yeah, never mind.
Yeah.
Wise Guy says, "You sure about that?" And Esme begins to smoke, which is bad for you. And her.
Yeah.
He says, "Someone like you could never handle the power of the evil black crystal. Your life is mine." And she falls over as smoke continues to billow out of her. We cut to outside of the building, and a giant, strangely womanly-looking dragon bursts forth from the structure and flies to the Crystal Palace. The earth shakes as the sailor soldiers watch their view screen in disbelief. Ghost King says, "Check it out. That dragon is formed of amplified life energy, the energy of a person's heart." Usagi says, "Whose heart would make a monster like that?" Jupiter says, "I don't know. Let's get out there and fight it." Outside, the dragon unleashes fire against the crystal spire where the 4 future guardians are, and it whips its tail against it, trying to destroy the building. Then it turns its attention on the sailor scouts. Venus is like, shrug, "Love me chain," and carves a gash into the dragon's belly, and it quickly heals itself. But Luna, however, is scanning the beast on the computer and says, no, she did something. Everybody attack. So we cut back to the bedchamber, and King tells the sleeping Serenity to help them if she can. Just then, a battered-looking Luna P rolls into view. King realizes that small lady is nowhere to be found. Great dad.
Yeah. I have feelings
He's
about
royalty. He's got a staff to do all. He sees his kid every once a month. You know how it works. She has attendants, but they're all dead now.
Yeah, right.
Because he's a great king, too. Outside, the sailors try to dodge the dragon's attacks, and Jupiter hits it with an SWP and brings it to the ground. And Usagi's like, "Yay, Jupiter. Well, we all saw that coming. Come on, everybody. We all knew that was going to happen. Pay up." She runs out ahead of everybody, but she's not remembering Dragon Ball rules, which are, if the smoke is still clearing, the villain isn't dead.
Yes.
And the dragon rears its head in front of her. Tuxedo Mask casts Save Usagi's Butt and takes her out of harm's way. Ray says, "Let's do it!" And we get a burning mandala and a Shine Aqua illusion burning and freezing the dragon, but it retaliates itself with a blast of fire. Tuxedo Mask says, "Remember what the king said. Ascertain its true form and believe in the power of justice, whatever any of that means." But the sailors remember that the true form of the dragon is a person's heart. Again, what I'm going to say next has nothing to do with that.
Okay,
Ready? Here we go. Tuxedo Mask throws a rose that pierces the gem on the dragon's crown. And Sailor Moon gives it the MPH. The dragon dissolves into crystal, and Esmeraude herself is seen floating in the air briefly before the crown falls from her brow, and she is cast into outer darkness. We cut to Demando, who seems to sense this loss. Then to Luna and Artie, who are like, yeah, laugh in hell, bitch.
I know.
It's a little glib.
It is.
We're losing a character we've spent all this time with.
Yes.
But okay.
Yeah.
King appears to the cats and says, have you guys seen my kid?
I know.
In the Dark Moon Clan base that probably has a huge hole in the wall, Wise Guy thinks, well, Esmeraude's dead. It's not a big deal. My real goal is not the Black Moon's victory. Saphir and Demando are pawns to me for my greater purpose. The power I seek is already in my possession. And he laughs a weird, girly laugh as we fade out.
Yeah.
What if it became a dragon thing for one episode?
Yeah.
What if it's just Berserk? And then we'll go back to Sailor Moon.
Pretty much. You guys like dragons, right? Like, you like, dragons in anime? Here's a dragon for
What's
you.
real tough? A dragon.
Exactly.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's have a dragon.
Yeah.
What did the evil queen in Sleeping Beauty turn into?
Yeah.
Does it feel like Sleeping Beauty? Like
Yes.
a Maleficent
It
sort of
does.
situation?
It does. So, I was gonna say this.
And you've got a Sleeping Beauty in the palace.
Yeah. I know, you do.
I mean, outside of the normal, it's not because it's a girl show, but like out of the normal fairy tale elements that are there, also the ones that are just kind of there because I think they're sort of baked into the idea of Sailor Moon, who is a princess,
Yes.
who is an empowered princess and has a destiny. But it's just like Sleeping Beauty, guys got to kiss her, wake her up or whatever. A lady that turns into a dragon.
Yep.
to stop somebody from getting in a palace. This dragon's trying to get into a palace. It just seems suspicious.
I don't disagree, but I have to come to Naako's defense because she did not have Esmeraude turn into a dragon. That was the anime. So,
I wasn't putting it on Naoko.
okay. Well, there
I'm
you go.
just saying, somebody was like, what do we do? Guys, have you seen this Disney film? It just came out of the vault. This is great. This is really good.
What if we had some vines around the palace? Is that too much? We'll just have it look desolate.
What about a
and
crappy
bare.
playground?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Maybe maybe Chibi, being the child of 20th century humans,
Yeah.
has 20th century brain herself, so she can only handle a 20th century playground. That's her royal playground.
Sure.
There's another playground down the street at the public school that's got laser monkey bars.
Sure,
and
yeah.
stuff. But Chibi can only wistfully look down through the high iron fence around the palace and wish that she could play on the laser monkey bars and the quantum slide. But she just can't. She can't handle it.
Well, maybe that's what her parents from the 20th century built her, because that's what they could handle.
And maybe she would get, the crystal, silver crystal, and like you just wish for a better playground.
Yeah, right. Like it's just she gets to make whatever wishes she wants, and then the crystal
A
just
dark
grants
matter
them.
water slide or
Right.
something like that.
Right. Swings that you don't have to pump your legs to swing, and they're like rocket powered or something like that. Yeah.
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 Yeah, it'd be pretty cool.
It would be pretty cool.
The animation is also kind of rushed.
You think so?
Yeah, I do. I think that if you look, the people who make this show are talented, but they're all working off of these rock solid character designs. They've got like this key art for the characters. They know what everybody is. And then if you tell your animators, now I want a dragon. It's like, oh, okay. And I assume that, I know they're not like literally drawing it and then it comes out every week, but they probably it takes about a week to make one of these,
Probably,
right? So you
yeah.
tell the animators, I'm picturing those girls from the animation episode.
Yes.
Do a dragon. They're like, dragon? I draw girls in boots. Like, I don't do
Right.
animals.
That's true.
So then you have to, just work out like, okay, this is the dragon. These are
Yeah.
the colors he's going to be. And then you just give it to the in-betweeners and just go, let's work it out, I guess. And
Yeah, pretty much.
if you don't spend extra time on it or have somebody who is a specialist in that, you get this dragon, which is okay, not great.
I mean, I think I agree with what you're saying. I kind of had lukewarm feelings about the dragon's like overall like look, and now that you mention it, maybe it's partially like the movement and everything too. Like, because like you're right, like good animators, you have to think about like how is this creature move and you know, flow through the world. So,
and plus, is it like a dragon, like a because it seems like a medieval dragon, right?
It's definitely like a
Western dragon,
European type dragon.
The Japanese dragons don't have wings generally.
Not generally.
And so they've got that, but is it like is it a dragon like Smaug, or is it a dragon like a dragonish, you know, like Ghidorah, like a kaiju type thing?
Well, see,
I felt like a lot of influences all fighting each other in the dragon.
I felt like it was like Godzilla except colorful and wings.
And with a pink
and
mohawk
breathing
down its
fire.
back. Yeah.
Right. And I kind of wish like it had like her green hair, because I think that would have, but I mean, I know
Tipped
it's like
everybody off.
green, but maybe they were thinking it would tip everybody off. So I think they went for a color that was kind of like her fan, but that's not part of her body. I don't know. And that might be reaching.
There's a lot of questions being raised.
Yeah, I know.
A lot of them.
This is a dragon made from the emotions of a human heart. And somehow...
Is that what it is?
And so, well, I think what we're supposed to get from that is her jealousy has consumed her, and she has, therefore, when she interacts with the evil Black Crystal, she becomes a dragon, a monster. And...
Right, but was that evil Black Crystal power, or was he fooling her? You know, because at this point, I don't understand...
I think it is the power.
I don't understand. Well, power came from somewhere. I don't understand what Wise Guy's role in this organization is. You know, did he give them the idea to attack Crystal Tokyo? Like, is he jazzing them up? Obviously, we are teased that he has ulterior motives that will be explained as we go. But up to this point, we only had inklings, and you know, now it's explicit. But like, did he? Where did this plan come from?
I think
I'm assuming that that the reason that they attacked, period, is because the Wise Guy told them to. Otherwise, they were living on planet Nemesis. They weren't happy, but you know, there was no interaction.
Right.
So he inspired that, it seems to me. But then the whole thing with like the reactor and the crystal, and we you know, I guess Demando's lust for Queen Serenity is driving their goal to capture her. But like, what is the plan with any of this? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't understand what any of this is. Well, and then at some point, when everything was locked down, they're like, okay, here's what we do. Rubeus, you get your team of biddies together and go back in time, and then we'll take care of this. Mm-hmm. But Demando hadn't seen any headshots, so he's like, yeah, just kill the Prince Moon, fine. Also, something else. Just stream of consciousness. Something else. Apparently, the identity of the royal family is known and understood for them to know to go back 1,000 years in the past and kill this chick when she's in high school. Sorry, junior high. Anyway, right? Why would they know or think about that? They haven't been around for thousands of years, much less the last 1,000. Why do they know anything about Sailor Moon?
They don't. They're following Chibi-Usa because she went back to the past, and they're trying to kill her because they want to get rid of the royal family.
So they only went. So okay. So they only went. They only did the Skynet thing because specifically they were going after Chibi-Usa.
Yes, and the silver crystal.
Which she didn't bring with her.
Well, that's true, but they must have, once they followed her to the past, they must have sensed it there or something. I'm maybe putting things together that weren't there. Maybe
they're putting things together that aren't there.
Yeah.
The writers.
Right.
So they can't get to Chibi-Usa, or they can't get to Neo Queen Serenity.
Right.
I know that he's like somewhere else, but it doesn't seem like Tuxedo Mask is like that big of a deal. I don't think they don't seem to care about him all that much. And then they want to get the rabbit.
Yeah.
So they literally assemble a squad to go back in time and find the rabbit.
Yes.
But once that's all those guys are dead or converted, nobody really seems to care about the rabbit all that much.
I would agree
until
with that.
this episode where Creepy Wise Guy's like, oh, the rabbit. And then he's got her in his clutches, but he doesn't even do anything with her.
Not yet.
Well, she's gone
that we see.
somewhere. She's been kidnapped or something. But.
Right.
So anyway, I'm just saying, this is an entire China store up on poles spinning. Like you did not need to have like this many things going on. Each one of these things is, I suppose, interesting in itself, but you've got multiple adversaries fighting each other and are good guys. They've all got different goals. Some of them are trying to betray each other. Then also some of them, they're like literally in the past and in the future. And there's just a lot going on. And then
there is a lot.
Put a dragon on top of it.
Yep.
Put a dragon on it.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
Just see how it goes.
That's the medieval version of the Portlandia thing. You know?
Instead of put a bird on it.
The dream of the 1390s is alive
my God.
in Portland.
Well, and then one more thing about the dragon. I thought, like, the king has this amazing technology, right? Which Ami has to tell us is amazing technology because she's a technology person. Anyways, I thought that it was zeroing in on not the fact that it is the heart of a person, or the emotions of a person, but that, oh, the crown is its weakness. Go for that. Why wasn't he, like, you know, imparting that sort of information to them, and then that would make sense in the fight later why Tuxedo Mask throws the rose at it.
Right, but if it's got a weak spot and, you know, Love Me Chain, you know, hurts it, but then it heals immediately, and you're like, okay, so clearly this thing has a weak spot. But the cats are like, it did something. Everybody keep doing stuff.
I know!
It's like, what are you talking about?
Move your paws, guys!
No, it's not just that. It's the fact that, like, you establish that. So, let's go to Smaug. He's a classic dragon, both in literature and film. The guy's got one weak spot, right? Mm-hmm. So whatever the dwarves do, it's not going to work. Whatever the men of Lake Town try to do, it's not going to work.
Right.
But there is, you know, one guy who's the best archer, and he's got a special arrow. And yes, there just happens to be a patch missing of the guy's scales.
Right.
And so if he shoots at the right time, he's the Luke Skywalker with the torpedoes. See, we're doing X-Men, we're doing Lord of the Rings,
always.
We're doing Star Wars, we're doing it all on this anime show. So... And he's the guy that's going to do that. So you get that, like, all the other, you know, actions will be in vain. And plus, sorry, Smaug, but you weren't even really, like, the climax of the book. You weren't even, like, the main villain. The whole point is that, you know, your death leads to everybody wanting the treasure in the Battle of Five Armies, which is really, like, what the book is about, or the end of the book.
Right.
So you got this dragon, you introduce it. We talk about it, it's hard a lot. We talk about how important that is. It's also got a crown. Mm-hmm. Powers work on it, but they don't. But no, it's you're doing something. And
what? Give me something more than that.
And in the end, Tuxedo Mask just throws a rose at its head. Fine.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I know, and it's like, okay, he's had great aim before and like hit. Yeah. I feel like weaknesses or something before. I mean, but not even like, hey, the droids always had a jewel, and that seemed like it was a weak nothing. There's no connection.
He's knocked. Speaking of moonshots and shooting Pluto or whatever, he's knocked projectiles out of the air. So I'm not. He's good. I can believe that he can do that.
He's got aim. I know.
Don't wear your weak spot in the middle of your face if you're going to fight Tuxedo Mask.
Yeah, I guess
Put
not.
it under your butt or something.
That sounds really uncomfortable.
So here's a question for the future.
Yeah.
What's the woman's voice and the lava lamp shadow?
The woman's voice and the lava lamp
Esmeraude comes to this base.
Yeah.
And she's like, hey, you're all the oxen free. What's going on? And she hears a voice. And she's like, who is that? And then later on, we see masked creepy wise man.
Yes.
Who's like, oh, I'm going to do all this. And he's like, I've already got what I'm looking for. And he's looking at, like, you know, in the sky or whatever, there's this shadow of something amorphous. It looks like a lava lamp. Mm-hmm. And then we hear a laugh. It could be a weird girly laugh from him, or it could be a regular girl's laugh.
It could be.
Because anybody but a girl laughs like that. It's weird. I'm not trying to be judgmental.
Yeah,
I'm just describing a laugh.
Yeah, I understand.
So what's up with that?
Spoiler?
Well, I know you can't say anything.
Yeah,
I'm just pointing out that I was aware that that's something to track.
Of course. Well, you're observant too. You're not just like watching this and letting it wash over you. You're like, something is happening here. And Esmeraude knew something was happening too, and she was
when
like...
When Endymion talks, I do that.
Yeah?
Just so like, okay, oh, stop. Everyone sit down. Sit down. Listen,
Exposition
I've got to
time.
explain this.
Yeah.
Now, we have a cafeteria, and the cooks in the cafeteria, they don't make very good peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So we decided that we needed the power of the... No, this is important. Where are you going?
I have to push some more crystal
buttons. You gotta cut the crusts off! Backtracking is back for an all-new season. Hi, I'm Caliban.
And I'm Gooey Fame.
And we'd like to introduce you to Backtracking, the podcast that explores the real-world inspirations behind your favorite episodes of Star Trek.
From historical events to classical literature to blockbuster films, we go where no pod has gone before to seek out the origins of classic Trek tales.
Did you know, Gooey, that the TNG episode Too Short a Season was an allegory for the Iran-Contra affair?
Yeah, only sweatier. Did you know that the Enterprise episode Regeneration was an homage to the John Carpenter film The Thing?
Archer and T'Pol freezing to death over a bottle of whiskey would have been a controversial ending.
As a dog lover, Archer would not like The Thing, I'm guessing.
Oh my god, movie night is canceled. Join us every other Thursday for a journey back to the beginnings of the Trek universe.
Backtracking is available wherever you get your podcasts.
No, Porthos!
For Kyoru Karomiru, or Curiously Looking Around, we talk about elements of Japanese culture within the episode. Today, I thought we'd talk about dragons and Japanese mythology and folklore.
Dragons.
So, Japanese dragons, or Nihon no Ryu, so basically the main word used for dragons for Japanese mythology is Ryu, R-Y-U.
Whoa, Street Fighter.
Yeah. They're diverse, legendary creatures in Japanese mythology and folklore. And Japanese dragons myths combine with legends that came over from dragons in China, Korea, and India, and kind of became an amalgamation along with native Japanese stories. So the style of the Japanese dragon was heavily influenced by the Chinese dragon. And I actually, so there are a couple of, there's different variations on this, but I've watched a couple of different videos that were talking about how, and it's basically the Chinese dragon too, right? How it is made from parts of different creatures.
Well, I'm gonna give it to you right now.
Oh, go ahead.
There are alligators in China.
Yes.
So and there aren't in Japan.
No.
So that's why they think there's dragons. Right? If you had and I don't think they're as big as like the ones get up down in the south.
Right.
In the Okeechobee swamp.
Uh-huh.
But you see a thing like that and you go, there's probably a bigger version of that somewhere, right?
Well, I could see that.
That must be where these ideas come from. Because to think about the first guy, it's like the 5th century, the first guy that goes over to Japan and he's like, you guys know about this? Check this out.
Right.
He tells a Japanese person about a dragon. They're like, what?
I know.
What?
I know.
We don't have anything like that here.
But I think something else that I came across was that the dragons in East Asia are very closely tied to myths having to do with like serpents, like the snakes. There's a lot of myths in Japan having to do with the snakes, and they're thought to be really magical creatures. And like the bodies of dragons in East Asia are very snake-like. Much longer, but
they have beards.
Yeah, and so they have the horns from a deer. Their paws are tiger paws, and they've got talons of a hawk. Like their feet really look very bird-like.
The heart of a lion and the wings of a bat.
I know. Of course, their scales look very fish-like. And I've heard different versions of like their heads are cows' heads, and then they've got pig snouts, or their heads are camel heads, which seems like the most bizarre one to me.
Can you imagine a guy from Saudi Arabia going to China and being like, you don't heard about this?
Right. But is this like part of the amalgamation from like India or something like that? I don't know. So like,
I suppose.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a lot of camels in China.
No, I don't think so either.
They do have a lot of desert in the north.
Yeah, but it's interesting. But like other East Asian dragons, most Japanese dragons are water deities associated with rainfall and bodies of water, and are typically depicted as large wingless serpentine creatures with clawed feet, which we've basically covered already. But
yeah.
So for listeners who are Ghibli fans, think of Haku in Spirited Away. He is a Japanese river spirit, and he can fly, even though he doesn't have wings. But yeah, don't think about it too much. But Esme, I think, looks more like we've talked about, like a European dragon, and a lot of Godzilla kaiju influence there too, I think. Just looks really stocky.
Well, yeah, it's bottom heavy.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, like, I don't know what I expected. I mean, if any...
It to look more like a Japanese dragon. Also, she breathes fire, and Japanese dragons don't really typically breathe fire.
Yeah, it's a kaiju.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like, Trogdor is almost more of a Japanese dragon.
That's true. He's got an S-shaped body. Yeah, right.
With little legs.
Yeah. Giant on beefy arms.
One beefy arm.
Yeah, just one.
Back of his neck there.
Yeah, exactly.
Good.
The modern Japanese language has numerous terms that mean dragon, including the indigenous tatsu from Old Japanese, tatu, Sino-Japanese ryu or ryo, which seems to be the most common that I've come across, and naga from Sanskrit, and doragon from English dragon, because of course, and the latter of which, so doragon, is almost exclusively utilized to refer to European dragons.
Okay.
Derived from, fictional mythical knight fighting creatures. So yeah, the Kojiki and the Nihongi mytho-histories have the first Japanese textual references to dragons, which were respectively 680 AD and 720 AD. And mostly the dragons depicted in these writings were water gods. In Japan, dragons are typically depicted as having 3 claws on their feet. One of your favorite facts.
All right.
And in China, I read that they're typically depicted as having 4 or 5.
Yes, Korean dragon. So here it is. And this is an oversimplification, but
yeah, go for it.
Japanese dragons have 3 claws. Korean have 4.
Okay.
Chinese have 4 or 5.
Okay.
And the idea is that, I just think about it as in terms of sophistication or what do you call it? Something that has a quality of being ancient.
Yeah.
A word that we don't have time for me to dig for right now. But like, so the Korean dragons are like, oh, well, these are like the OG original dragons. So maybe you like, as you get closer to the, future or whatever, you lose fingers.
Oh,
but
okay.
the older dragons have more fingers.
Oh, okay.
Japanese are the
makes
youngest
sense.
dragons. They have the least fingers.
Yeah, they're not wise enough to grow another finger.
Exactly.
So.
Couple thousand more years.
Okay. I like that. That's a good theory. Esme, however, has 4 claws on her hands and 3 on her feet. So I don't know what's going on there.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Anyways, I thought we would go over some of the most well-known myths and folklore stories in Japan that deal with dragons. So Yamato-no-Orochi, or 8-branched giant snake, was an 8-headed and 8-tailed dragon slain by the god of wind and sea, Susanoo, who discovered the Kusanagi-no-Tsurugi, which means grass-cutting sword, I found out. The legendary...
The mowing sword.
Yes, the legendary sword of the imperial regalia of Japan, one of the 3 sacred treasures. And he finds the sword within the dragon, one of its tails. So the Nihongo...
He's just rummaging around. He's like an RPG player.
Well,
He's like,
not
oh,
exactly.
here's a dead townsperson. Let's go through their pockets. Check inside his mouth. Maybe his teeth. He's got fillings.
Well, I mean, it's a part of the story. So the Nihongi describes the Yamato-no-Orochi as, quote, it had an 8-forked head and an 8-forked tail. So 8 heads, 8 tails. Its eyes were red like the winter cherry, and on its back, firs and cypresses were growing. So it's got a forest on its back.
Okay, it's big.
Yeah. As it crawled, it extended over a space of 8 hills and 8 valleys. So, yeah, this thing is huge. It's massive.
Yeah, this is like Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, like, oh, I'm going to climb up that hill. Holy crap, this hill is moving. Yeah, right, exactly. So after he was kicked out of heaven because he was mean to his sister, Susanoo encounters an elderly couple with their young daughter, and they were crying because they were forced to give the Orochi one of their daughters every year for the last 7 years, and now they must sacrifice their 8th, Kushi-Inada-hime, or Comb Wondrous Ricefield Princess, who Susanoo transforms into a kushi, or comb, for safekeeping. He literally turns her into a comb. He's like, oh, that's your daughter? Make her a comb, put her in my hair.
No
Well,
problem.
before that, he was like, what will you give me if I help you? And like, he's like, I want your daughter's hand in marriage when she comes of age. She does later become one of his wives. Anyways.
Neat.
Yeah. So Susanoo tells the couple to distill 8-fold sake, or 8 times brewed sake. So this stuff is strong. Build a fence with 8 gates. Each gate should then contain a tub of sake. So they did all of this. Orochi came along, and sure enough, each head drank from one of the tubs of sake, and the dragon became so drunk it fell asleep. Then Susanoo began hacking the dragon to bits. It cut off all of its heads and started cutting off its tails. And so, this worked. And when he got to the 4th tail, his sword broke. And to his surprise, that is when he found another sword, the Kusanagi-Tsurugi. So he was just like, I'm going to kill this dragon. This comb is going to be my wife. And, and oh crap, my sword broke.
Yeah, one of those
it's
days
a cooler sword.
You break your sword, but then you find another sword.
And it's even better.
Everything works out.
Yeah, exactly. So,
there's the Japanese game, it's not a Japanese game, I guess it came out in the West, but Okami, which I recommend anybody play who's into Japanese stuff and anime. And even if you're not a good video game player, I think it's worth playing. But
I can vouch for that.
Well,
I'm not very far,
got
but
some work to do. But,
yeah.
The main villain in that is Orochi, or Yamato-no-Orochi. Because it's not exactly like a one-to-one myth thing, but there's mythical elements. And so
yes.
In the story, there's a village who is Kimiki village that is sacrificing maidens to the dragon.
Yes.
And like I don't know if they've done 8 or not, but like the last maiden that you meet is Nami, who is supposed to be Izanami no Mikoto, like a human version of Izanami.
Uh-huh.
And then and then you are Amaterasu,
right?
But just as a dog.
Yes.
Which, whatever, fine.
It's cool.
And they have to fight, the eight-headed dragon.
I think it's awesome. I like that game a lot, and I would second that recommendation. I think it's got a really cool animation style, and it's easy to play, and then you learn some stuff about Japanese mythology along the way as well.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of other mythical gods, Watatsumi, sea god, or as he's probably more familiarly known, Ryujin, dragon god, was the ruler of seas and oceans and described as a dragon capable of changing into human form, so he could shapeshift.
Huh.
And he lived under the sea in Ryugu-jo, or Dragon Palace Castle, where he kept the magical tide jewels that controlled the tides.
Huh.
So that's pretty handy.
A little more neap tide, a little less spring tide. What is...
I know. I mean, basically, so it was believed in Japan that that dragons were the controllers of water, and I'll get to that in a minute. But well, actually, I'll just mention it now. Ryujin Shinko, or dragon god faith, is a form of Shintoism that worships dragons as water kami. And it is connected with agricultural rituals, rain prayers, and the success of fishermen, because they were, it was a largely agricultural, society in ancient Japan. Yeah. And they experienced a lot of droughts, and they didn't have a lot of really great irrigation. So when they prayed for rain, they prayed to dragons, because they thought the dragons could help bring the rain.
Sure.
So, and Ryujin has shrines across Japan to this day, and especially in rural areas where fishing and rains for agriculture are important for local communities. But one legend with Ryujin is the story about how the jellyfish lost its bones. So according to this story, Ryujin wanted to eat, it's more involved than this, but I'm paring it down, wanted to eat a monkey's liver. And in some versions of the story, this was to heal some sort of incurable rash or some sort of disease or some sort of illness that he had. Yeah. And he sent the jellyfish to get him a monkey. Now, at this point in time, I've heard different versions of this. Some versions say, the jellyfish had bones at this point. But some say, it had a tail. I don't know. It was not what we know as the jellyfish. Anyways, it could go on land. Uh-huh. The monkey was basically able to outsmart the jellyfish. He figured out, he was pretty smart. He figured out pretty quickly what was going on. Oh, you want my, and so he told the jellyfish that his liver was too heavy to carry around all the time, and that he had to put his liver in a jar in the forest, and I'll be right back to go get that.
I'll get that for you.
Yeah, and so the jellyfish came back, told Ryujin what had happened, and Ryujin became so furious that he beat the jellyfish until its bones were crushed.
Beat the bones out of you.
Yeah. So, pretty pissed about that. He had a lot of daughters, and probably his most famous daughter is Toyotama-hime, or Luminous Pearl Princess. And she supposedly was the ancestress of Emperor Jimmu, who was Japan's legendary first emperor. So not only does the royal family of Japan say that they are descendants from Amaterasu, they're also descendants from dragons. So
okay,
just throwing that out there.
The dragon man.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. Toyotama-hime one day met a prince who was known as Yamasachi, or Luck of the Mountain, and also known as Hori, or Fire Subside. And he was related to Amaterasu. So,
so apparently everybody is.
Well, no, but they're the ones who will go on and have children. Anyways, Ryujin recognized that Hori was a descendant of the heavenly gods, and so he threw a huge feast in his honor. And shortly thereafter, Toyotama-hime and Hori were married. And after 3 years of living together in the castle under the sea, Hori confesses that there was a quest he must complete. And his giant quest is he needs to find his brother's fishhook that he lost before he met his now wife.
I've just been putting this off.
So I guess he was out looking for the fish hook, and that's how he met her.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So the hook was found in a sea bream's or tie fish's throat. And as an aside, a tie fish, which I think we've mentioned before, is they're considered to be really lucky and auspicious fish in Japan, and they're often eaten at weddings and other celebrations. largely because of their lucky red coloring, and they like their shape too. So anyways, after the hook is found, the couple moves to live on land, and Toyotama-hime tells Hori that she is pregnant. And she instructs her husband not to watch her give birth.
Okay.
So guess what happened? Curious, Hori takes a peek at his wife, but instead sees a giant Wani. Wani is a dragon or a sea monster in Japanese mythology, holding their newborn son. And Wani is written using the kanji from Chinese or crocodile or alligator. So Wani is translated as crocodile or sometimes shark from Wani Zame, which means shark. So two creatures of the sea, but very different. And this, of course, was Toyotama-hime, who had shapeshifted to give birth, and she felt very betrayed and upset that Hori broke his promise and returned to the sea, leaving her husband and their child.
Well, as you do.
As you do, yes.
This is, I can't be here right now.
No, and then she sends her sister to help take care of her child.
Oh, that's nice.
And then her sister marries her child, because that's mythology for you. Yeah.
So she's her own sister, mother-in-law, daughter-in-law, something.
Her Toyotama-hime's kid's aunt becomes his wife.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah. So, and they are the ones who have 4 kids, and their last one is the supposedly first emperor of Japan.
Right.
Yeah.
So, God heritage, dragon heritage,
Yep.
Incest heritage.
Yes. You correct.
All right.
I don't know if they like to
pick
admit
2.
to that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just keep that one under the rug somewhere. Yeah. And I just have one more myth that I think is important, because I think it is kind of the most similar to what we see with Esmeraude in a little bit, because it has to deal with a woman transforming into a dragon because of love.
Okay.
More or less.
Sure.
So Kiyohime, or Purity Princess, was a tea house waitress who fell in love with a young Buddhist priest. After he spurned her, she transformed into a dragon and killed him.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's lots of different versions, but in popular versions, the family of Kiyohime provided lodging for traveling priests who passed on their way to a shrine. Like on their, lots of priests would do pilgrimages, like sometimes annually or during certain times in their, studies.
Sure.
And they would pass by their way to a shrine famous for ascetic practices or sexual abstinence.
Sure.
And one day, a handsome visiting priest named Anshin lodged at the house while on this pilgrimage. And in some versions, he falls in love with Kiyohime, and she is very beautiful. But after a time, he kind of overcomes his passions, or just decides I shouldn't do this, and refrained and decided I shan't meet you again, but does not tell her this.
Oh.
And in other versions, yeah, right. In other versions, Anshin resisted her attention from the beginning and avoided her house on his return journey. Regardless, he avoids her on his return journey. And Kiyohime became furious by his rejection and pursued him in rage. And at the edge of the Hikata River, Anshin asked a boatman to help him cross, but told him not to let her cross on the same boat. And Kiyohime saw that he was escaping her, and she was furious, and so she jumped into the river and started to swim after him. And while she was swimming, she transformed into a large serpent or dragon because of her rage. And when Anshin saw her coming after him in her monstrous form, he ran to a temple called Dojoji, and he asks the priest of Dojoji for help, and they hid him under the Bansho bell. It's like this huge bell that they have at like temples, and they ring on like certain ceremonies and special occasions, and it's huge, made of metal. And however, the dragon smelled him hiding inside the bell, coiled around it, and she banged the bell loudly several times with her tail. And then she burninated him with fire that melted the bell and in turn killed Anshin.
Just the worst hiding place.
Yep.
You hide in a bell.
Nope.
You get what's coming.
You're getting it.
Yeah.
So
most of these myths revolve around, look, the dragon people, they just want to be people.
Kind of, yeah.
You're trying to spy them out and see, like, oh, that's the guy's dragon. It's a dragon. It's a good dragon. No, that's when the trouble happens.
Yeah, that is when the trouble happens.
Let them be people.
Let them be people. Let them eat monkey livers, and they will leave you alone.
Yeah, that's all they want.
That's all they want. Yeah. It's just common people things.
It's so interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose there's other, like, fantastical creature type tales. There's fox spirits and things, but it's always like, wait a minute, you're a so-and-so? Gotta die. Gotta kill this guy.
Yep. Well, I think, her rage, just because her rage was so much, that's what it, like, Esmeraude's thing reminds me of, even though it's with the power, I think, of the Black Evil Crystal.
Bring up anger a couple times.
Yeah, I think it's her emotions and her jealousy that, like, turn her into this.
That's her heart.
Yes, her heart that is very angry and sad that she can't be with her beloved Demando. Speaking of Esmeraude, I mean, there's no food in this, so I thought we wouldn't do Itadakimasu.
That's fine.
I thought we'd go right into Villain Gauge, where we rate a baddie 1 to 5 dark stars.
Yeah.
5 being the most wicked, and let's rate and talk about Esmeraude, including her final form as a dragon.
Yeah. Honestly, again, so many plates. Just spinning around. This is an entire dining set in a tumble dryer.
Ooh.
That's how much these plates are spinning.
Yeah, those are gonna break.
I feel like she was a victim of all the things that are happening, because once you go to the future and you've got invaders from Planet X and a magical ghost dad and and double the amount of sailors, and you've got a creepy wise guy who's making people into dragons, and evil Black Crystal.
Yes.
Things are gonna get lost. And so a character who, I had a lot of affection for and I thought was great in the past is just relegated to a background player in this, and then goes out in like a weird way that when you bring up like her anger and stuff like that, it kind of, okay, I can see how this would be a fitting end for her if she ran into a guy who could turn her into a dragon, literally. So it's a good thing she did. But I didn't sense there's no foreshadowing of dragons. It wasn't like a motif for her. Like suddenly she's just like, okay, you're a kaiju now.
Yeah, pretty much.
So yeah, that was, I don't know, that was a little disappointing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I like the idea that she could turn into a dragon, but I'm not exactly in love with what we got. And it was like half an episode too. So, I mean, that's fine. But I really like her as Queen Esme. I thought her outfit was badass.
Yeah,
like,
but
those like spiky shoulders.
Superfluous.
I know, you blink and you miss it, but I would have loved to have had at least more time with Queen Esme and like at least a whole episode, and like let's build up to it a little bit.
Yeah, I don't even know what's coming now that they're introducing some other thing and there's some other person or something that that wise guy is like allied with. Like, just cut all that and do 2 episodes where now Esme is going to try to call the shots because she's got all this extra power. Mm-hmm. And then so we go out. It's like the whole Nephrite thing. It didn't have to like veer off into a whole thing where he's basically working against the Dark Kingdom.
Right.
Because now he's in love with Naru or whatever. Like, have a thing where she's like, I'm in charge now, and Demando's like, no, you're not. And so there's like a 3-front war between, the sailors, Demando, and her, until she is finally consumed or defeated, becomes a dragon out of her rage, and that's her final form before she's like taken out. But instead it's just like, all right, I'm gonna wrap this up. A dragon? Oh, I'm a dragon dead.
I know. I think so. I've been thinking a lot. Like, I'm not sure yet which. I'm still not sure, and it's been around for 20 plus years. What my favorite season is of Sailor Moon. I'm very partial to the first season just because I like the Dark Kingdom a lot. I really like the Ayakashi sisters like a lot. And I don't remember liking Esmeraude this much, but I freaking love her. And I want more of her, and I wanted a better ending for her. And I think that R suffers a little bit from, here's Aelin on. Oh, now it's Rubius and the Ayakashi sisters. Oh, now it's Esme's turn. Oh, now we're going to the future. It's like I think you were kind of basically, this is what you were saying earlier. It's too many things to track.
Yeah.
And then we've been holding all this stuff back. So here's a whole bunch of exposition. Yeah. So now we're at the end, and we're supposed to be like super excited. And yet some of these episodes have been kind of like, sometimes it's like, oh, these are real high points. But then it's like, these aren't some of the best episodes of the season, and they should be.
Things aren't getting the attention that they really should, because we've got to move on immediately to other things.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But I do want to just give love to Esme. I just love her style so much. I love that I learned that her dress is not black, that it is very, very dark green, along with her gloves and her boots, and I can't unsee it now.
That's what that's the takeaway.
That's at least part of the takeaway. But I really do love her style, her ridiculous fan that is kind of over the top, her lime green wavy hair, and like her laugh. I love her laugh.
Yeah.
And sometimes she was made to look a little ridiculous, but it was for comedic effects, and that was okay. Yeah. And she got over it. She didn't, she wasn't obsessed with things too much. I would say like her one big downfall is being in love with a guy who is a jerk and creepy and not into her, and she gives her life for him. Yeah. So,
doesn't deserve.
No.
Doesn't deserve her.
He doesn't deserve her.
No.
And I guess also she loves cake, and then she's mad about it. So, that's relatable. And I love her dark, you reminded me too, her dark henge, her dark hengy PowerPoint. And just that she designed freaking statues that look like herself.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. I love her so much. So I'm going to give her 5 out of 5 dark stars.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm giving her 4 out of 5 dark stars.
Ooh.
It's not her fault.
Wow.
I like her, but we rate what we saw. And ultimately, she was not given the chance to, ironically, spread her wings enough, I think, to earn a 5.
Okay.
Like some of our other 5s have. And are there other 5? There might be only one other 5.
Well, there's Zoisite, and I think we rated all the Ayakashi sisters maybe a 5.
Oh, all of them a 5?
I think so.
That can't be possible.
Oh, you want to change that now?
Well, I want to go back and
revisit.
We need some fan do a wiki. Let's make a wiki out of this. So the hosts themselves can easily go back and get the information. But yeah, I cannot grant you the status of 5, but definitely rock solid 4 for all the reasons mentioned, and a character who I think I don't know, comes off less evil and more just self-centered. But ironically, for somebody who really puts herself at the center of all of her thoughts in her life, her love and her devotion and her duty is to somebody else who
does not care about her.
Yeah, and as we've seen, a lot of bad bosses on this show. Does not value what he's got. A lady that can do all the things that she can do, and he just basically completely loses. He doesn't even send her off to die. He's doing something else, and she's just like, I got to get this done. And she, takes it on herself to fix this,
right.
And then meets her end. And he's like, oh, Esmeraude. It's like, yeah, but you don't care, though. You don't really care.
I was kind of like, why would we even see that?
I don't know. Just to know that he knows.
She's gone.
Just to know he knows.
I guess.
There won't be a scene next week where it's like, what? It's already, we got to move forward. So.
Right, exactly.
So yeah, personal favorite of mine, liked a lot,
yes.
But gotta be honest, give it a 4.
Okay. All right. That is fair. For Sabu Ojabu, where we talk about the most interesting differences between the sub and the dub, just one thing this week. In the dub, the scene in which Prince Demando attacks Saphir, that was cut.
Okay.
So, no big surprise there, because we can't have violence.
Well, we don't want kids replicating force pushes. We don't want them manifesting
Not
psychic
between
powers.
their siblings.
No,
we can't have that.
Yeah, little brother-on-brother force violence.
Yeah, right, exactly. And now we are up to our rating for this episode, and I feel like even though some important stuff happens at the beginning, I feel like it's kind of boring. Yeah, okay, let's try the crystal and have Sailor Moon see if she can wake her future self. I mean, do we really think that that's going to happen at this point? I guess is what I'm thinking, but maybe I'm saying that because I've seen it before. But
sometimes you're in a role-playing campaign and the game master knows which way he or she wants the game to go.
Right.
And the players come up with something really interesting that should work.
True.
And they try it and the game master's like, that doesn't work.
Right.
Because he knows where he wants it to go. And he doesn't want you to take it away from where it's going to go. And it's like, why wouldn't the silver crystal, doesn't have enough time power or something? Like, why wouldn't it work?
Well, there's something
unless the actual silver crystal wouldn't work, or if the silver crystal has time traveled somehow. But so she's using the future one, but then the future one doesn't work or whatever. It's like, if they all thought it would work and it has power and influence here, then something should happen. Maybe it makes it worse, or maybe it does something, but just to have the heroes just, use their agency, and then the show's like, no,
and nothing happens.
And nothing happens.
Not
that's
even
not an interesting choice.
I would agree with that. It doesn't even seem like something is happening.
Yeah.
Also, I'm just so incredibly pissed that Chibi-Usa would wander outside of the palace and everyone would just let her. And I am super pissed too that Tuxedo Mask is like the one who's like, let her go, and her future dad, and then her actual dad just, space dadding around.
Hey, can you take care of your own kid while I go do this?
I know!
Yeah.
And then it's like he forgets to parent and then checks on his wife who is clearly frozen in the coffin.
Yeah.
And then sees his child's abandoned toy, and then is like, oh yeah, my kid. My past self told me I should look on her. Yeah. Check up on her.
That's like double bad dad.
Yeah. I really hate it. And I think, but we just had to make it convincing that Chibi-Usa, I think you need to make it more convincing that Chibi-Usa would more or less willingly go with Wiseman, but it takes so long at the beginning. And I also feel like maybe we should have built Wiseman up more as a character, but I think he's somebody like, oh, we got to hold him back. He's mysterious.
Yeah,
Things
he's mysterious.
are happening, but let's see more of that.
Yeah.
And Esme as a dragon, cool, but could have been cooler. And I didn't like the way we said goodbye to her. It was not as emotional as I would have liked. And the episode just kind of drags. So I'm going to give it 2 out of 5 roses.
Well, at least we didn't agree on the villain, but I'm going to also give it 2 out of 5 roses for all the same reasons. We are 4 away from the end here at this point, or maybe 5, depending on how you want to count it. And we should really have something. We should be driving towards the end here.
Yeah.
And if you want to introduce new stuff like dragons or something, I mean, I guess, but there are things that we should be closing. Maybe there's not enough things open to close. This is all. I mean, I know her name's on the show, but this is all about Usagi. This is all about her future with Mamoru and a girl that is her child, but
Right.
we can't give Donatello a thing. We can't give any of the other sailors
I know.
something to close up as we go into the future. There is no love triangle with Rey. There is no, is Sir Friendzone going to be okay? Or I don't know, whatever. There's nothing else to track. And we're beyond the days of just it's just a brand new episode, and I don't know what the theme is. I don't know what that song is. But
the her late to school.
we're just starting off, and we're just doing something else, and there's a new monster, and then we figure it out, and then we go get some cherry soda or something like that.
Right.
Like, we are literally just going, here's a new chapter in this story. So if you're going to plan that far ahead, then, I don't know, have something going on, have two of the girls mad at each other, or have... maybe Ami reads in a data file that she's dead in the future or something like that. She wonders what that is. Or,
right.
There's all these chances to put more in.
I agree.
And instead we're just replacing that with and now this happens, and now this happens, and now there's a dragon, and now there's a lava lamp. And
right.
I think we could have done better.
I agree.
So at this point in the story, it's only going to be 2.
It does feel like maybe it hasn't been planned out as well as it could be. So my English title for this episode is Esmeraude's Folly, Consuming Jealousy.
I think that's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
And pretty concise.
Yes.
The show could take a lesson from you. My deep title for the episode is A Dragging Tale.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's really bad, but also very accurate. Yeah, that might be one of my favorite titles.
Door comes in the night.
Yeah. Next episode, we are talking about episode number 85. Ankoku no Jo Buraku Lady no Tanjo in Japanese. The Dark Queen, Birth of Black Lady, the English translation, and the English title, Birth of Wicked Lady.
Oh my god. I know exactly what's going to happen, and I don't like it at all.
Tell me what you think.
He's gonna grant her dream, legend style. She's gonna be evil. I don't remember the girl's name from Legend. Mia Sarah. When she becomes she's a queen, and it's a metaphor for in Legend. It's a metaphor for her sexuality and having agency. But he's gonna make her an evil lady. It's in the title. It's Evil Lady. Goodbye, evil lady.
I can't say
I'm
anything.
very uncomfortable, but I guess I'll just have to sit on that discomfort for a week. But, if you're uncomfortable, share your discomfort with us on social media. We're on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, variably at noob_sailor. Sometimes we do the underscore. Or
That's
Sailor
true.
Noob. And join us there and talk with us about what's going on in the show. What'd you think? Mm-hmm. Do you like it? Do you hate it? What would you rate it? And also join us on Discord, where we're always talking about Sailor Moon and also other nerdy topics. We've got a link in the show notes if you want to join us on the Discord.
Yeah, did you like Esme going out as a dragon? Yay or nay? Let us know.
Not enough burnination or too much? Let us know. And also, I don't know, just, always give us a rating.
Yeah, we really do
Whatever
appreciate
thing you're
that.
on, give us a rating, give us a review.
It helps us out. It, helps us pop up more in the algorithms.
Sound off. Let us know you're out there.
Exactly. And also tell a friend, because that is the best way that we can continue doing the podcast, is we get more people to listen and that know about our show and tune in.
Then your
every
friend
week.
tunes in. They're like, "It's talking about Star Wars the entire time." We're like, "What is this?
What
show?
is this? This isn't Sailor Moon." Well, that's our show for this week, and the Name of the Moon will be punishing you next week with another episode of Sailor Noob.
Is that my kid?